Alrighty then. Another year, another championship. I hope you're well rested. Well, as much as you can be for someone who has to spend half their life in the gym anyway. Let's get to it.
Hello everyone and welcome back guys to Season 3 of the F1 2019 HAAS Road to Glory career mode, where today we're here back for, like I said, round 1 of a new World Championship. You know what that means? We're here for the Australian Grand Prix. It's always brilliant heading back to Australia. All the driver transfers, if you did miss out that video, click the art at the top right hand side of your screen, so there'll be a link to all of those. All the driver transfers coming in, all the new upgrades for all the teams, everything like that. Hopefully for next season we'll also see a bit more of a performance change, obviously after no rule changes heading in to this new World Championship. 2 big upgrades for ourselves, the engine power exhaust and the weight reduction into cooler positioning as well. And it's looking like a beautiful, dry, fairly cloudy weekend here in Melbourne. There's a quick recap of all the driver moves as we head into the new season. But yeah, I'd recommend going back and watching the driver transfers video as well, ready for the new season. We talk about what most teams are probably going to be aiming for, what we personally are aiming for, why on earth Roman Grosjean has kept a seat but George Russell hasn't, everything like that, all that good stuff. And yeah, very, very excited to be coming back to Australia for Season 3. I can't believe it's Season 3 already, you know, and I don't think this is going to be our year. I really do hope, you know, we can build it back up, but I like to remain optimistic in this series. For those of you that are new around here, you know, we sort of try and play this thing a bit more realistically. You know, we're sticking with HAAS at the moment, trying to bring them back. But I say bring them back, bring them to glory for the very first time in Formula 1. You know, we play for, you know, we don't script, we don't do anything like that. We play realistically. If I'm not going to score points, I'm not going to score points at the end of the day. You know, we can try and get some lucky results here and there. Sometimes we have in the past. Other times we've been very, very unlucky as well. So yeah, hopefully you guys, if you like sort of a more realistic experience from the career mode, then hopefully this is the channel for you as well. But coming into Season 3 though, we have still got near enough 1,200 R&D points as we head in towards the first free practice session of the year, which should mean that potentially more upgrades on the car. We're also just having a bit of a look around. You can see Racing Point, the best engine and the best chassis in Formula 1. Their engine heading into this new year, I'm pretty certain, is completely maxed out, with maybe like 1 or 2 upgrades off as we head into the new season there. But yeah, tremendous work by Racing Point over the winter break. You know, it's absolutely phenomenal. And only the 3rd best chassis in Formula 1, so every other team still has a tiny bit of hope. That accolade goes to Red Bull, but Renault are right there with them as well. And yeah, as we head in towards the first free practice session of the season, though, everyone knows the drill by now. Fairly simple, nothing too much to write home about in the end. You can see we've actually got a little bit of an overlay what we managed to achieve there. Purple on the track climatization, purple on the tyre management, purple on the fuel management, purple on the ERS management, and then only the green on the qualifying pace there. Gives us 434 points at the end of free practice. Takes us now up to 1,607 points, which is definitely enough for a new upgrade on the car as well. So hopefully we're able to get that done just now before obviously we head in towards the first qualifying session of the new year. So what are we going to go for? Decisions. We could go with the rear wing end plates. That could potentially give us a lot of extra performance, bring us right back up to Mercedes in terms of the aerodynamics on the car. And I think, are we going to go with that? Yes, we do. That'll be ready on the car for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix then. And yeah, that should hopefully now leave us all prepared. It's almost ready. It's almost time. Qualifying for the new season. You know, for most people, this is the first session they obviously watch back on the new Formula 1 calendar, especially for us Europeans. It makes it quite difficult to watch most of the Formula 1 weekends, especially down under here in Australia. But yeah, certainly very, very excited for this. Hopefully you guys are as well. Like I said, it should be, according to that, a full dry weekend, but obviously we'll wait and see. As we get ready then for qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix, let's dive right into this, straight into Q1 this time around there, and obviously want to try and get up to pace fairly quickly. You know, free practice doesn't give you the best chance, and the track's quite green. Australia is certainly one of those circuits as well where the track really does rubber in towards qualifying there, and actually trying to take a bit of a gamble, going out on a set of the medium compound tyres first of all in this qualifying session. You know, just seeing what I could do, seeing what the pace was like in this HAAS car there, but obviously it was going to be a bit difficult, you know, still, especially with the track still rubbering in and everything like that. And already Sebastian Vettel down to 1 minute 18.0. That is absolutely incredible as we head into this Grand Prix weekend there. We were 3 seconds off that. Now, some of that is down to the tyres as well, and as you can see, as we headed back down in towards the pit lane here, yeah, we were certainly going to be a lot further down the order than I really wanted. I think we were down in what, sort of P11 already, and only quicker than one of the Toro Rossos. As you can see by the end of the session, we were down to just P20 here as we head out the final corner though. 1.6 seconds up. That was going to elevate us back up inside the top 10 there. Sorry, up inside the top 15 even, I should say. P11 at that stage of the session. And 1 minute 19.5 really does go to show just how quick these cars are becoming in the HAAS Road to Glory crew. And I'd love to see what sort of a maxed out Mercedes and maxed out Ferrari could do, and what's looking like a fairly maxed out Racing Point and Renault. They're down into the 1 minute 18s, which, yeah, is incredible. Perhaps we could see a 17 sneak through in Q2 as well here, but we'll have to wait and see. That was Sebastian Vettel, his first qualifying session for his new team. They're up on pole position there. He's looking to try and make it a 6th Formula 1 world title, and I'm sure that is hopefully going to put him in good stead for the rest of qualifying men. But anyway, let's jump on then into Q2, and this is something that I sort of want to do for this season. We're actually going to try and film all of our qualifying laps here, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll do a bit of a qualifying comparison with Season 4 next time around then. And riding on board then, this is Q2 in the Australian Grand Prix. They're coming through Turn 1 and Turn 2. They're at Turn 1 and Turn 2, and they're through Brabham and Jones. They're actually getting quite a good run, taking as much curb as we possibly can. Break down at the black box for Whiteford of Turn 3 there, and through the next couple of corners up in towards 4th gear. They're trying to get the car down towards the apex. That one's quite a high curve though, so you want to avoid it. The same can be said through Turn 5 there. Now breaking down in towards Turn 6, one just where the wall gets as close to the track as it does, and then trying to take as much exit curb as you possibly can to give yourself the run on the exit of the corner. They're braking just at the end of that black line on the road. They're just after the end of the white line as well, and once again trying to take as much curb as possible. They clip the grass, doesn't quite give us the best run in the world as we now head out on towards the next, more not really a straight, but this flat out bit through Turn 11 and Turn 12. A brilliant chicane when you do get it right there, and activating the 3rd DRS zone as well there. I think we're about half second off Sebastian Vettel as we got to the end of Sector 2 here, but Sector 3 is definitely where we lose a lot of time. Big chunk of wheel spin as we head down in towards the final few corners of the lap. They're down in towards Stuart, Prost, and at the last corner of T16. They're taking a lot of curb, a lot of grass as we head through the penultimate corner there, but out of the final corner and down towards the line then, activating the DRS once again there, and it's going to be a 1 minute 19.5, and there was definitely a little bit more time on the table there, but we do slot down in P13 at the moment there, and I said it was going to be a full dry weekend. A little bit of a showers as we head in towards. I did actually go for another last-ditch attempt in Q2 here, just to see if we could try and move up the order and nestle ourselves up inside the top 10. You can see already by the end of Sector 1 we dropped half a second, and yeah, the grip was just going away. It wasn't undrivable, but yeah, there was no way we were going to be able to try and match our time from earlier on in the session there, which was a little bit heartbreaking. I definitely felt without the mistakes we could have probably got right, you know, potentially P11, P12. We could have definitely been right there with the Mercedes at the end of the day, but through the final corner we were 7/10 off in the end there, and yeah, no one would obviously be able to improve with such a deficit, and it would be P13 for the Australian Grand Prix there. Unlucky for some, hopefully not for us in today's race there. Sebastian Vettel once again on a 1 minute 18.0, but Red Bull now starting to show their pace in Q2 there. Charles Leclerc in 4th for Renault even, I should say, with Lucas Weber and a Valtteri Bottas 5th and 6th for Ferrari there. In the top 5, 1.5 tenths of a second separated them at the end of that session there. That is absolutely crazy at the end of the day. But I think then that is qualifying over obviously for ourselves. We start down in P13 just behind Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo there, and just a couple of tenths clear of my teammate Romain Grosjean. Hopefully we're going to see a bit of a Romain Grosjean V2 for this new season, but I remain skeptical of what we're going to see from Romain Grosjean this year. But anyway, it's time then for round 1 of the new season. We're here for the Australian Grand Prix. It's safe to say Australia has treated us actually with a fair bit of respect in recent seasons on the F1 2019 HAAS Road to Glory. In our very first race in Formula 1, we finessed a safety car strat to come through for our debut podium in the sport, matching what Kevin Magnussen did back in 2014 there, and yeah, picking up a debut podium in Formula 1. Last season though, with pretty much the worst car on the grid. Again, a really, really good race for us. We managed to actually pick up a point in the opening round of the World Championship. Reliability definitely saved us in that race. Kimi Raikkonen's dramatic end to his Grand Prix on the final lap, unfortunately, yeah, cost him a chance of a top 10 finish. And, you know, what would have been one of Alfa Romeo's only 3 points in that season after only finishing on 2 at the end of the day there. But still, heading into Season 3, points are certainly the aim. Whether we're going to achieve it, though, is certainly going to be a very, very different question. It's definitely going to be a difficult test here today for the new season. And obviously, with no rule changes, everyone effectively still on the same slate from Season 2. I'm sure there's not going to be too many risks in terms of reliability here. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see as to how everyone fares in the opening round of the World Championship. Tyre strategy is definitely still one to talk about, though. The option between a soft medium race and a soft hard race is certainly going to make it interesting to see where everyone ends up. Potentially a bit of a pace delta in towards the second third of the Grand Prix, between about lap 10 and lap 20. But let's have a look then at the qualifying order ready for the start of the new World Championship. It is going to be Valtteri Bottas on pole for the opening round of the World Championship. Ahead of Devon Butler in the Mercedes for for P2. That is a fantastic job by him. Lucas Weber in P3 ahead of Pierre Gasly and Verstappen. Sebastian Vettel, Hamilton, Hulkenberg, Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez rounds out the top 10. There were Lando Norris ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. The homeboy makes his return to Formula 1. Hasselhoff out the 7th row ahead of Sainz, Raikkonen, Alexander Albon, Giovinazzi, Kvyat and Lance Stroll already somehow with a grid penalty heading into the first round of the new World Championship. It's certainly going to be interesting. A bit of a mixed up grid. I think there might still be the glitch of the AI being on Season 1 performance in qualifying. But yeah, we will have to wait and see. But there, the Australian Grand Prix. I'm excited. I hope you guys as well. In terms of the strategy, we're going to be trying to take these softs onto a set of hard compound tyres through to the end of the Grand Prix. We'll probably lose out a little bit of pace between, like I said, between about lap 12 and lap 20. But towards the end of the race, the hard tyres even, I should say, really do come into their own towards the end of the Grand Prix. The mediums have a horrible tendency to really start to wear out in the latter stages of the Grand Prix. But here we are then on the grid for the Australian Grand Prix. Season 3 is about to kick off. It's 5 lights here in Australia, and it's 5 lights, and away we go there. And rather predictably, actually getting off to a really, really poor start there. Romain Grosjean straight past me as we head in towards turn 1 there. And we're going to try and look back around the outside of my HAAS teammate there. Light in the rear wheels, though, up over the curb. That could have very easily been us into the wall there. But somehow we keep it pointing in the right direction. We're going to plummet like a stone, though, down in towards P18 there, but I'd rather that than into the wall without a front wing there. You know, that could have easily been game over in T1 of the opening round of the World Championship. Really not what we would have needed there, and yeah, happy that we managed to keep it facing in the right direction, but yeah, a lot further down the order than we would have liked there. Not often can you make up places at the start of these Grand Prix, you know, with the AI, how consistently good starts they get on F1 2019, but still, I would always like to hold neutral here. As you can see, Raikkonen, everyone just concertinaing up as we head down in through turn 9 and turn 10 here on the opening lap of this Grand Prix here. We do need to try and get past Raikkonen, my old nemesis from Season 2, as quickly as possible here. And still, maybe I need to let things go, but Raikkonen's still certainly one of the enemies on the F1 2019 HAAS Road to Glory career mode there. He's certainly not on my Christmas card list. I'm sure Raikkonen couldn't care less, though, in all honesty there, as we head through the final couple of corners of lap 1 here. And we're still all over the back of Raikkonen. Ferraris, though, lead the way at the end of lap 1 there. It's actually Valtteri Bottas from pole who leads the way at the end of lap 1 here. Obviously, he famously took the victory in the real-life 2019 Grand Prix. Are we going to see the same sort of feat here on the HAAS Road to Glory? As you can see, Raikkonen down in towards T1, though. Tries to play it defensive. He's already a bit wary of myself here as we head through the first couple of corners of lap 2 here. You can see trying to muscle our way down towards the inside as we break down in towards turn 3 here. Are we going to be able to make this move work there? Surely so. And yeah, fairly textbook move in the end there. Turn 3, obviously a great opportunity to make overtakes around this Australian Grand Prix circuit there. And already utilising it to our full advantage. And yeah, back up into P17 of the Grand Prix very, very early on. And you can see instantly now we've latched onto the rear of Antonio Giovinazzi here. You know, we have started to make a bit of a breakaway in terms of the pace delta here. It's a little bit weird, I can say, from this Australian Grand Prix. It seemed a bit like, obviously, we had sort of the big 5 teams Mercedes was sort of there, HAAS was sort of there, and then we also had a bit of Carlos Sainz, and then, yeah, really Toro Rosso, Alfa Romeo, and Lance Stroll there a bit further down the order. Obviously, Lance Stroll is a bit difficult to say with his engine penalties from the start of this Grand Prix, though, as we actually got right around the outside of Antonio Giovinazzi there. I completely forgot I even made that move, in all honesty there. And now on to lap 3 of the race we go here, trying to settle down into a bit of a rhythm, but still definitely focusing on trying to move ourselves back up the order here as we head down in towards the next couple of corners here. Albon braking just that little bit earlier than myself there and trying to actually hung it around the outside, but we do make the move work. And we're now back up into P15 of this race, so making good progress in the early stages, but we have been able to navigate around probably 3 of the weakest cars on the grid. Luckily we were still ahead of Danny Kvyat. Oh yeah, that would have probably been another move that we had to make there. But yeah, Alfa Romeo and Toro Rosso really struggling at the moment here, as yellow flags actually out as we head down in towards the final few corners of lap 3 here, and that is Alexander Albon, who was just behind us in this Grand Prix there. His engine is blown up in spectacular fashion, and Toro Rosso, I mean, it has not been a couple of seasons to remember for these guys, and well, season 3, if that's the tone that they've set themselves for season 3, it is going to be yet another rough season for France TOS team there, as we head now onto lap 4 of this Grand Prix. Yeah, Alexander Albon out in what, 10 miles there or thereabouts, just under 10 miles of this Australian Grand Prix there, and yeah, really not what he would have wanted at, well, I would say at the end of the day, but really it's just the beginning, to be honest with you. There is now on to the end of lap 4 here, all over the back with Carlos Sainz, trying to break out around the outside once again there, do what we did to Giovinazzi, and once again, able to make that move work there. Quite surprised, honestly, the AI aren't just slamming the door shut at the moment there. And well, I mean, if they're not going to, we're certainly going to try and capitalise on it. And now all over the back of Devon Butler and my teammate Romain Grosjean. Certainly not two drivers we expected to be seeing battling in this race there. Who'd have thought at the start of the 2019 HAAS Road to Glory we'd see Devon Butler in a Mercedes battling Romain Grosjean in a HAAS for P12 to make it a little bit more disappointing for ourselves here. You can see now onto lap 5 we go, already a sixth of the way through this Grand Prix. You think about how I look up the inside of my teammate there, just a little puff of smoke from the front tyres there as we try to get the car slowed down, and we don't really want to go for too many rash moves in the early stages of this race as we actually light at the rear wheels through turn 4 and turn 5 there. And now on to lap 6 here, 1 lap later, we're still thinking about trying to line up a move on my teammate Romain Grosjean, breaking down in towards turn 1 there. Devon Butler's actually been able to make a bit of a breakaway as well here, so we're going to have the DRS, have the slipstream here. Is Grosjean going to be able to get the run there? No, he's not. He's going to play it defensive though, to the outside in towards turn 4 here. Are we going to be able to make this move work there, right around the outside, get the traction on the exit as well there? And I think that means 3 of our 5 overtakes now have been around the outside in this Grand Prix. They're certainly brave and willing to give it a go at the moment here, as now we try and hunt down Devon Butler once again in this Grand Prix here. We'd started right near him in this race. I think he started P10. No, sorry, he'd been right up towards the front of the field. What's happened to Devon Butler in the opening couple of laps of this Grand Prix there? I swear he was P2, wasn't he, at the start of this race? Unless, no, I'm thinking about, I don't know what's going on. No, it was, yeah, I'm having a crisis here. Devon Butler started P2 in this race, and yeah, was now all the way down into P12 of this race. So clearly not the start that he wanted as well here. And you can see trying to look around the outside of the Mercedes man. 3 times a charm, we make it work, but light at the rears on the exit, and that means Butler just able to, completely open door for him on the exit of the corner there. Grosjean thinks about having a look up the inside. He does have a look up the inside through the final couple of corners there. We weren't expecting that one. Light at the rear wheels through the final corner as well here, and that's going to give Sainz even, I should say, a run up the inside down in towards T1 there. Grosjean as well follows him past. Is Grosjean going to be able to look up the inside in towards T1? We're going to try and go for the switchback on the pair of here. Watch them trip over each other. A lot of grass. Sainz loses the rear on the exit, and that is, yeah, once again going to be the opportunity for myself there. And after all of that, everyone holds position there. Grosjean though back at the inside of Sainz as well there, and is he going to be able to make that move work right around the outside? Sainz gives him the room, and I think Grosjean, yeah, he does slot back up into P14 there. So after all of that, everyone held on to the positions they were in at the start of that whole segment there. And honestly, the next couple of laps would be a little bit quiet between now and our first pit stop window here. The only real thing that would happen, unfortunately, would be Kimi Räikkönen. Not the most dramatic of retirements in the world. It wasn't a spectacular crash. It wasn't a spectacular failure. I don't know if Räikkönen just got bored, but the Alfa Romeo just decided to turn off, unfortunately for him, in the opening round of the season. Well, that's 2 years in a row, at the very least, that Raikkonen has unfortunately retired from this Australian Grand Prix. Might even be 3, in all honesty there. But at the end of lap 11, though, we would dive it in for our one and hopefully only pit stop of this Grand Prix here. Devon Butler down into the pit lane, as well as Carlos Sainz just behind us here. And I think Devon Butler, that might be the cause of all his damage here. I think he's actually got some front wing damage. I think he's had to go for a front wing change in this Grand Prix there, which, I'll be honest, I was really, really happy that I jumped him. Only now, I think, am I realising, yeah, Devon Butler, an unfortunate front wing change there. He must have picked up damage right at the start of the Grand Prix there. Unfortunately, we didn't get a view of that one there. And yeah, that means we're now back up. Well, I say back up. We're down into P15 now, a net 11th place. Sorry, 12th place even, I should say, of this Grand Prix here. And now we really do need to try and pick up the pace on this set of the hard compound tyres here. Because like I said, between about lap 12 and lap 20, trying to keep these tyres in check is certainly going to be a little bit difficult here in this race. You know, we're down, up, sorry, up, down, I don't know where we're going. We're now back up into P12 of this Grand Prix, but a fair way off Daniel Ricciardo at this stage of the day. Homeboy back after near enough 2 years out of the sport, and well, for the second half of this Grand Prix, we would be a man on a mission here. The gap to Ricciardo, 6 seconds as we head onto lap 14 and near enough the halfway stage of this Grand Prix here. And like I said, trying to keep these tyres in check over the first few laps, trying to match their pace was going to be difficult, but by lap 20, the tide would really start to turn here. You can see just fast forwarding over the next few laps here, the gap hovering at about the 6-second mark at the moment, and then you can see onto lap 17, what's it going to come down to or up to? Let's have a look. It's still holding on at 5.7 seconds here, and honestly, we were pushing to try and close Ricciardo. Completely forgot that Devon Butler was also pushing like crazy to try and get back past me in this Grand Prix here. And you can see still, that lap round, Daniel Ricciardo pulled out 0.02 of a second over myself there. And Devon Butler was still closing in as well here. Lap 19 though, skipping on, you can see Ricciardo now the gap down to just 5 seconds here. I think actually Ricciardo starting to have a few little issues in this Grand Prix as well there. 4.5 seconds now as Devon Butler starts to lose a little bit of time as well here. So yeah, I think Ricciardo's got some small issues in that Mercedes car as well, which is certainly helping us close up that little bit more than I'm sure the homeboy would have wanted here. Lap 21, the gap now down to 3.8, and you can visually see Ricciardo is getting much closer lap after lap here. Lap 22, 3.7. Those small issues I think have been resolved by the Mercedes team, but now it was the time where the hards would really start to come into their own there. 6 laps to go now of this Grand Prix. The gap now down to 3.5 seconds to Daniel Ricciardo. Devon Butler, though, was still sticking on my tail in this Grand Prix here. 2.9, that gap to Butler now, 3 seconds. We were now closer to Ricciardo than we were to Devon Butler here. 5 laps to go, 2.5 seconds to Daniel Ricciardo. 4 laps to go, 2.4. Are we going to be able to close up enough? We are pushing like crazy at this stage of the day there, setting our new PB of the Grand Prix. They're bringing that gap down to 1.8 seconds with 3 laps to go of this Australian Grand Prix. It certainly hasn't been the most exciting second half of this Grand Prix, but if we can make this move work, I think it would all be worth it at the end of the day. Lap 28, 1.1 seconds, as we've now just got 6.5 miles to go of this Australian Grand Prix here. We need to get into the DRS of Daniel Ricciardo here. You can see now on towards the final few corners of lap 28, those medium tyres must be absolutely shot at this stage of the day here. 1 lap to go as we head through the final couple of corners to finish off lap 28 here. Daniel Ricciardo, out of the sport for the last 2 years, in with Mercedes, one of the biggest teams, dominated the second half of the 2010s after Red Bull. And, well, it's not quite been what they would have wanted in recent seasons. You know, last year they really did slap off the pace. 2021 has not started the best for him here, but Daniel Ricciardo, he needs to hold on in his first race back in Formula 1, prove that he hasn't cracked under the pressure. He was always quite good on the defensive. Monaco 2018 will always bring one that always, for me at least, there. Lucas Weber does win the Australian Grand Prix, though. His debut race for Ferrari there, I'm sure that is really good for him there. Sebastian Vettel sets a firm tone as well, though, as he gets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix right at the very end there as well. And you can see coming through the chicane there, you can see closing up so much to Daniel Ricciardo, being a little bit brave over the curbs there as well. But to the outside of Ricciardo as we now head down in towards the final couple of corners of this Grand Prix here. This sector of track is not often where you go side by side there, and Ricciardo certainly not willing to give up on this one at the moment there. Up the inside in towards the final couple of corners though. Ricciardo tries to keep the nose out the inside. We tried to give him the squeeze there. We're going to be side by side through the final corner of this Australian Grand Prix there. Who is it going to be? It's a drag race to the line. Who's going to come out on top? Ricciardo holds the DRS. And, well, that made the difference in the end there. If Ricciardo didn't have that DRS, I think we would have had him at the end of the day there. But that was the most dramatic. I think that's the closest finish I've had in this HAAS Road to Glory career mode. That certainly is on par with the final lap of the Hungarian Grand Prix in Season 1 there. But Lucas Weber takes home the opening race victory of the season there. Ferrari, I'm sure they'll be very, very happy with that one at the end of the day there. Yeah, Lucas Weber, I'm sure, ecstatic to pick off his, kick off his Ferrari career even, I should say, with the win there. Hamilton obviously did actually win last season, if I'm not mistaken. He actually won Season 1 and Season 2 here in Australia. It might have been Sebastian Vettel, though, in Season 1. But yeah, Hamilton won the race victory here last season, and Lucas Weber now gets on the top step of the podium once again in Formula 1. His second career victory, if I'm not mistaken, here in Formula 1. He did take home one race victory as well last year with the Renault team. It would have probably been two had the car not let him down with one corner to go of the Mexican Grand Prix last season at the end of the day there. But three different teams on the podium. Pierre Gasly on his return to Red Bull, and Sebastian Vettel on his debut with Racing Point there. I'm sure there's three very happy chaps in the on the podium at the end of the day there. Max Verstappen in P4 there. Bottas in 5th from the pole. Really, really gutted. I'm sure for him, he wanted to try and get that win with Ferrari at the end of the day there, but just lacked the pace in the race there. Hulkenberg in P6 there. Hamilton in 7th for Renault, ahead of Charles Leclerc there. I'm sure he's very, very happy to beat his teammate in the opening round of the season there. And then a sizable drop of half a minute back to the Williams there. Lando Norris and Sergio Perez there, rounds at the point scorers. So 2 Williams, 2 Renaults, 2 Racing Points, 2 Ferraris, and 2 Red Bulls score points in the opening round of the season. Then it was Daniel Ricciardo, the homeboy, held on by 8 thousandths of a second at the line there. That was gutting how hard we pushed in the second half of that Grand Prix not to hold on in the end there. I had a Devon Butler, Romain Grosjean, if I'm not mistaken. Sainz was in 15th there, and obviously then you had the Stroll in 15th, even Sainz 16th, Kvyat, Giovinazzi, and then Raikkonen and Albon both not making it through to the end of that Grand Prix, which means only 5 teams scored points in terms of the Constructors' Championship at the end of the first round of the season. Ferrari lead the way, though, 35 points ahead of Red Bull on 30, Racing Point on 24, Renault on 10, and Williams on 5 there, with obviously don't know how Toro Rosso are ahead of us when we got P12 in that Grand Prix, but we'll gloss over that for the moment. Hopefully it won't come down to that at the end of the season with no points for either of us at the end of the day there. But a solid opening result to the New World Championship. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Quite a long one at the end of the day, but I hope you guys did enjoy it nonetheless. And hopefully I will see you guys next time out for the Bahrain Grand Prix.